President Xi Jinping of China and Trump are going to take a huge step forward in their trade negotiations. And part of that step forward is something that I never thought would, make international news and stop the presses around the world. It's over TikTok. Yeah. Now, well, I'm sure you're on TikTok now, Monique. You're not, but I am because I write about it. But it's a short video app. It's hugely popular with kids. It's run by a Chinese company called ByteDance. Trump initially, and after that, a lot of people in Congress believed it was a way to spy on Americans. Filled filled our youth of America with anti-American propaganda. You name it. Trump wanted it banned. Congress, even when he was out of office, pushed for a ban. Joe Biden signed it into law. It was a bipartisan legislation. It went before the Supreme Court. They approved the ban. And now Trump believes because TikTok, he thinks, got him elected because a lot of youth voted for him. And I think the aforementioned late, great Charlie Kirk used TikTok for his get out the vote drives on Turning Point USA. Trump wants to save it now. And they're in the throes of creating a deal that would save it. And tomorrow we're going to get some, and Friday we're going to get some more details, probably after this our podcast hits. So, but here are some of the details I hear. It's going to be owned majority by American investors. The algorithm is going to be housed in Oracle's cloud. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The algorithm is the all important thing. It's the secret sauce of this thing. From what sources are telling me, is that there's a plan to change that algorithm or to reinvent it in a way that totally cuts out the Chinese. And it's the Chinese algorithm that they basically gave us to replicate and tweak and change and maybe rewrite the whole thing into a separate algorithm. And that was one of the big hookups. Like, do they give us the algorithm and how we can store it and tweak it so we can make sure the Chinese aren't spying on us still? That's going to be key. And I would say watch exactly how they frame that. It's very political. It's really politically dicey because the Chinese think it's their algorithm, which it is. Trump has to deal with Congress. There's a law. If the algorithm still provides a backdoor into China, well, then there's a violation of that law. No matter how many times he extends this executive order, you can get a lawsuit. I mean, you can get something. If you got a Democratic president in and he says, well, I'm going to re-implement this law, well, guess what happens? All this private investors that now is interpreted as violating law, they're on the hook for like gazillions of dollars in damages for keeping an illegal, keeping a business afloat that violates this legislation. So watch how this all unfurls. On paper, it might look like the Chinese still own 90% of it because all the big companies, apparently all the big investors, the Susquehannas, the KKRs, General Atlantic, they hold ByteDance shares, right? They're yes. Investors in the company now. They're the big U.S. investors. They're going to roll those shares into the new company. They don't want to sell them because it would be a taxable event. So on paper, it's going to look like the shareholders are ByteDance, aka the Chinese, controlling the company. So watch that. That'll be interesting. Let's see how Congress reacts to this. I think the next story here is how Congress reacts to this whole structure. Do they buy the rolling over the shares? Do they trust the algorithm being managed and tweaked and possibly changed by Oracle? We should point out that Larry Ellison of Oracle is a good friend of President Trump's. Oracle is going to have a major sort of equity stake in this as well. They're going to make a lot of money off this. They're going to run the cloud and have the equity stake. The new company could be worth anywhere between 30 and 50 billion based on the various metrics. I think TikTok has 300 billion. I don't know the math, but if you look at the metrics of how many users are in the U.S., 172 million, right? So you get that valuation of around 30 to 50 billion, and so it's going to be a deal. A lot of people want in on it because this thing makes money.